What is up guys, ShadowNinja here to talk about some Star Wars Battlefront 2. New trailer dropped revealing the multiplayer, and I can say it looks fantastic. It is a great way to start off day one for E3 2017. Now there's a lot to talk about with this trailer. I'm probably going to make two videos, two separate ones. One's going to hear break down the trailer, give an analysis, breakdown. Another one's going to be about the details in a live stream. A lot was said. Can't cover it all in this little trailer breakdown, but I'll cover it in another video. Now, EA's first installment into the new Battlefront franchise was well received to a certain extent. They thought it was good for what it did, but it lacked a lot of content and didn't have a single player and only focused on one era. With Star Wars Battlefront 2, that is changing. Instead of one era, we have three. And now since we have three eras to work with, we have more weapons, vehicles, settings, heroes. The content will be there. We also got a good glimpse of single player here, but I'm currently going to hold off on a single player. I'll leave that to the end of the video. I think it's time we get to see some clone troopers, even some battle droids, some Roger Rogers, clash it out in a city of Theed on Naboo. Let's get straight into it. In the beginning of the trailer, it looks like we get to see some First Order Stormtroopers, then some Imperial Stormtroopers, and our good old clone troopers. Now our next shot here is the city of Theed, and I can say these graphics are blowing me away yet again. So in this frame, you see a Trade Federation landing ship and also a Vulture droid assaulting the city of Theed. Now moving along, we see some B-1 battle droids coming out of MMT. MMTs are better known as multi-troop transports, would place B-1 battle droids as seen in the frame here, lay them down, close up, and cause some serious damage on the battlefield. So here we get to see the might of the Separatist droid army wreaking havoc, running straight into chaos. Here we get to see some clone troopers, and action honestly looks pretty amazing. Now for some of the stuff we just saw, this on the frame right here is an AAT. It is the Separatist tank, and it does massive damage on the battlefield as you saw. Now next on screen is the blaster known as the DC-15A. I expect this to perform similarly to the E11, pretty much identical, just an earlier model of it. So I think gameplay wise it's going to be pretty identical. Now next on the frame we get to see a Z6 blaster cannon. These things are a minigun. They wreck through battle droids, and I'm actually interested to see what they're going to do in the game. Now, this right here is the E5 droid blaster. Pretty much all B-1 battle droids in the Star Wars universe use this weapon. Now, it's obviously going to be a little bit different. You're going to have more customization. You're not going to have to use this blaster, but it's pretty reliable for the Separatists. I know they didn't win the war, but they did do some damage to the clone troopers with it. Now, getting back to where we left off in the trailer, this is right here is the B-2 super battle droid. Expect these to be a menace on the battlefield. They can do some serious work. They have a blaster mounted into their right arm, and they will just mow down any who come in its way. Now moving along, we get to see some Republic vehicles in action. So next up on frame is what we see here as a AT-RT. Now when it comes to gameplay, expect these to be a faster AT-ST from the previous game. Now these are smaller but yet more vulnerable, so you got to be careful when riding them, but they are quick, agile, and do pack a serious punch. Now since they're pretty vulnerable, I doubt one of these can take out an AAT or even a large amount of troops, but now if you throw 2 or even 3 into the equation, I'm pretty sure that should be no problem for these guys. Now as we move along, we get a good visual shot of some air combat. Now here we get to see a Vulture droid getting chased down by a Naboo N1 starfighter. Now I'm pretty sure these Naboo N1 starfighters will only be on the Theed map or any other Naboo maps. I highly doubt they'll be in other parts of the prequel eras, but hey, you never know. So now we get to see the inside of the N1 Naboo starfighter. Now if you look to the left, you're going to see what's called a V-wing. These were Republic fighters. Now these aren't the only starfighters the Republic has in their arsenal. There's a lot more that we'll probably see in the game, but as of right now, this is the only starfighter we see in use. Now as we see here, we get to see this proton cannon shoot down this Vulture droid and it go crashing to the ground. Here, this is by far one of my favorite parts. Now here we get a confirmation of the voice of the clone troopers that we'll be playing, and it will be none other than D. Bradley Baker. If you don't know who he is, he was a voice actor for the Clones and the Clone Wars animated TV show that aired on Cartoon Network. Now personally, I love this choice. He added so much to the clones, gave him personality, more than the movies ever did, so I think it's great that he's going to be returning and being the voice of the clones. We all know who owns this red dual-bladed lightsaber. Darth Maul, baby! Darth Maul will be playable in the prequel era, and to be honest, I'm not surprised at all. This was expected. Here we get to see him run straight into battle, do some crazy flips, swiping down clone troopers left and right with his dual-bladed lightsaber. Seeing this honestly makes me just happy to be playing as Darth Maul once again in a Battlefront game. As the trailer progresses, we just see more non-stop action. We get a look at some explosions, some MMT putting in some work, even a little battle droid using a shield, some jump troopers jumping in right in front of the MMT, getting destroyed in the action, as well as the palace in Theed. Now the great part about the next part, we get some confirmations of new locations we will be seeing in multiplayer. One of these new locations is a planet known as Kashyyyk, home of the Wookiees. Cool thing about this location is that we'll likely be playing as Wookiees, not only as Chewbacca, but probably as random Wookiees trying to defend their homeworld. Next location on the list is Starkiller Base, the home of the First Order in The Force Awakens. Spoiler alert, it's not there anymore, but we'll be seeing it here in Battlefront 2. Going along, we get a confirmation that Yavin 4 will be in Battlefront 2, and this is an awesome addition, as well as the Death Troopers that I hope make a big appearance for the Imperial forces. Here we get to see Boba Fett and Luke Skywalker in Mos Eisley, which is located on Tatooine. Here we get to see Yoda and Darth Maul getting ready to clash in Naboo, and it quickly pans over to Rey and Kylo fighting in Maz Kanata's castle. Now we get some space action from the sequel trilogy. Don't know where exactly this is. It could be Last Jedi. Sounds like Poe was over the comm, but I'm not 100% sure. If it is, that's great. But they're in an asteroid field. They're going to attack a First Order Star Destroyer. I'm curious what it is. I hope it's part of Last Jedi, but only time can tell. Now this is a single player part of the trailer. To some people this was a little bit of a surprise. I was kind of expecting it, but there's a lot of questions with this one scene right here. And I can tell you, Palpatine is dead. That is a Sentinel droid there to represent him. Now these Sentinel droids are not new to the Star Wars canon. For new canon, it's been seen in the Shattered Empire comic line and the novel Aftermath Empire's End. Now if you're into reading Star Wars, expanding your knowledge of the universe, I highly recommend reading these two lines. The Aftermath trilogy takes place 1 year after Return of the Jedi. It fills in that gap, and that's actually where I think this story is going to be. Same with Shattered Empire. It fulfills a small gap, gives us an insight of Poe Dameron's parents if you didn't know, and it tells us a lot about the Empire. So I'm not going to ruin these stories for you. I'm going to keep it spoiler free for the most part. So here I'm going to give you a little insight of the Sentinel droid. In Shattered Empire and Empire's End, the Sentinel droid was there to enact Palpatine's final plan. Now I'm not going to ruin the plan and what he wanted to do, but these were his dying orders. The Sentinel droid, in case he died, was there to enact his final plan. Now a small brief spoiler, this final plan included Jakku, so it gives a good explanation of why the Battle of Jakku was there and why it was the biggest battle in galactic history. Now the Aftermath trilogy covers a gap from the end of Return of the Jedi all the way to the end of the Battle of Jakku, going to this is a minor spoiler alert, but you're going to see Ben Solo's birth, who is also known as Kylo Ren. So at the end of Return of the Jedi, the Galactic Civil War is not over. The New Republic was fighting to destroy any Imperial remnants across the galaxy, and the Imperial forces were trying to build back their empire that seemingly struck a final blow when losing its emperor. Palpatine's final plan is a plan you will not expect, and it is a plan I think you might realize. Now, I hope they don't tell the whole story of Empire's End. I really would like for people to read that book, even read that trilogy. It's a great read. But if this game shows that story of the last days of the Empire that we know and its rise to the First Order, we are not only going to have a great single player, but a great story to move this new Star Wars canon forward. Now I hope you guys find this video very useful. If you do, or even enjoyed what I was talking about, please drop this video a like. It would be greatly appreciated. Now there will be more Star Wars Battlefront 2 information on this channel. I'm going to break down the live stream. I'm going to talk about classes, vehicles, gameplay, even some voice acting, even some very negative things I have about certain things, but I'm not going to talk about that just yet. So if you haven't already, please drop a like, and if you aren't subscribed, please do that. Follow me on Twitter for more information. My Twitter link will be down in the description below. That's all I got for this one. ShadowNinja here, and may the Force be with you.